Hi, my name is David Buck. I'm an English professor at Howard Community College in Columbia, Maryland. And I'd like to show you today how I'm using Sutori in my freshman composition courses. I teach primarily online, and I use the college's learning management system, which is Canvas. But over the years, I've become increasingly frustrated by the way the LMS constricts student work and separates most of the content that I want to use into separate boxes. And so I was looking for a tool that would be a little bit more elegant in its design and more collaborative in the way that my students interact with the content. And I actually came upon Satori through a Google search. I was looking for timelines and I found Satori and I started to use it. And I want to show you how I'm using it in my courses now. So let me just show you one thing that when I'm looking for a new platform, what I look to use the platform for. And there are three major factors that I look for. How does the platform help me with my communication with my students? How does it help me display my content in an organic, natural way, and maybe even a visual way? And then how does it help me encourage collaboration between myself and the students and the content, and then the students with each other? And Satori checks each of these boxes for me. And I'd like to show you how I'm doing that. So for the communication part, I'm going to show you how I'm using Satori in my course. This is Satori and my timeline that I'm using for English 121, which is my freshman comp course. But I want to show you what it looks like inside the LMS. And this is Canvas, and what I've done is I've basically reduced the LMS only to a launching pad to get me to Satori. And the beautiful thing about Satori is that it has an embed code where I can put the embed code straight into the home page of my Canvas course site. So this is the first thing my students see when they come to the site, which I like a lot. Now, when they come here, they're going to see Satori in a embedded frame. Okay. And what I like to show students this is what Satori will look like on their mobile devices. Believe it or not, most of my students do take my courses primarily through a mobile device instead of sitting down at a desktop or a laptop. Canvas has an iPhone and Android app, but it seems to be very clunky. It's not very elegant in its design. Satori, on the other hand, looks wonderful on a phone, and I really like the visual impact that it has on my students. And my students can add content quite easily on their phone as well. So for instance, I'm in composition. The students are using Satori to compose, to actually produce content. And I want to make that as easy as possible for them. So when they're using it on their laptops or their desktops, I usually will recommend to them to click the buttons here and launch Satori through the web page. So I'm going to show you that. And this is my Satori site. Okay. Now, I want to get to the communication part first. First of all, to communicate with my students, I love the left side navigation that they can simply go through the course, and you'll see that I separate my content into 2-week chunks, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But I just want to go to the course announcements. I use the course announcements in Satori to communicate with my students, and the primary way that I communicate with them are through weekly Zoom meetings where I go over the upcoming 2-week block of labor that they're going to have to do. And I really like the way that Satori lets me go into a box and quickly update the box when I need to change some things or I want to change some dates. And so I can have continuity of experience throughout the entire semester. When we have the meeting and I have the recording from Zoom, I quickly put it up to my YouTube channel and then bring in the YouTube link straight into Satori. And this looks beautiful, the way that students can watch the video of the recording if they missed it, beautifully right here in Satori. Again, eliminating all of the tabs and the windows that they have to go to in a normal LMS. So the LMS is utilitarian. I can use it. However, is the experience, the learning experience, ideal for my students? And I'm thinking here that Sutori allows this um, overview of exactly what I'm doing. They can see everything rather than having to click on disconnected pieces of content in a module or on a page in the LMS. So I'm going to show you quickly what I normally will do in a 2-week chunk. And you'll see this, that I've followed Sutori's best practices and tried to make each of my weeks the same look and feel. And the continuity of experience is important, especially for an online student. When things look different, that encourages confusion. Confusion encourages disengagement, and that's not what I want. So what I tried to do is every week have the same 5 boxes of content. The first box over here are my readings. The second box is more like a module overview, what I used to use, module overviews, where I tell the students, this is what you're going to be doing before you begin here. The most important box is my box number 3, which is my labor box. And this is basically where I put all of the assignments that they're going to be doing for this 2-week chunk. Now, if there's a related piece of content to the labor, I will use the same color code, the yellow, and put the accompanying piece. For instance, this week, it's a TED Talk that they will be watching and annotating. And so as the student progresses through the timeline, they'll see that each box is the same each week. I have a question 4 box, a green, which means go, which means ask the question, set up the virtual office hour with me. The beautiful thing about Sutori is that I can bring in a third party, which is a tool which I use for scheduling. And this is called Acuity, and I'll show you here. So the student can go straight here into my scheduler, schedule an office hour with me, and then we keep moving. So again, the interplay between third-party tools is really cool in Sutori. And then finally, I have my box 5, which are my labor due dates. And these are the due dates that I want my students to follow as they complete the labor of the course. Again, the student can come over here to the left and look through all of the weeks in one shot. I want to show you one week, my week 13, which is where we start to prepare for our final argumentative essay, the formal argument. I just want to show you what Sutori looks like for bringing in handouts and PDFs and Google Docs into the timeline. And so instead of using an LMS module where all of these pieces would be separated and it would actually have to prompt the student to click on the link to open the content page, with Sutori, it's an overview. It's a one-shot view. And they can see all of the connected parts of the things that I'm asking them to consider as they compose their argumentative essays, which I really like as well. Finally, collaboration. How do I use Sutori for collaboration? In my course, I separate students into labor support groups. And in this, I want them to be engaged, contributing members of our writing community. And the way I do that is I separate them into groups of about 5 or 6, and I ask them to engage every 2 weeks in their group. And Sutori let me do this in a very streamlined way, which I deeply appreciate. And so what I have here, over here on the left, I've made collections, and each course has a collection of groups. Right now, I'm showing you my section N191, and I have my 5 groups of students here. So let's go to 1 as an example. And this is a group of 6. If I hover over the number 6, I'll see the student names for a quick review. And I just want to show you what I'm doing in these labor support groups. So every 2 weeks, I'll come in and post a prompt for engagement. And for example, my first prompt was to introduce themselves and also name an inanimate object that best describes their personality. Maybe talk about their interests, what their majors are, just to get to know each other. And then the students will come in and start to post on the timeline. The other feature that I really like in Sutori is the forum. And this takes the place of an LMS discussion board. But instead of a discussion board in an LMS where you have to post once and then post 2 times to peers, here it's a much more organic discussion. And so you'll see over here at the bottom, I have 7 comments here from my students. So if I click on them, I can come in and look at all of my student comments for that discussion. And again, very intuitive in the sense of where the student is placing the comment. And so again, there's a collaborative nature here. Another prompt that I use is for them, I ask them to bring in an internet meme that best describes their feelings right now in the semester. And for me, I posted my meme about how I feel about Zoom meetings. And the students came in and brought in a wonderful creativity that they use with their memes and explained why they chose the meme that they chose. Again, creative output, but also collaborative in the sense of sharing and building a community. The last engagement, we have one more, but the last one for this week has been engagement number 4, where I asked the students to go ahead and think about someone who's inspired them to labor in the course. Again, this is the time of the semester where students can become disillusioned, overwhelmed, they can check out. I don't want that. I want them to stay engaged. And so you'll see that this group, 9 comments have been made to who inspires you, who helps you labor throughout the course. Again, I'm trying to use that collaboration to build a sense of community and belonging with my students. Now, in the future, I'm probably going to use Sutori in a more content aligned way where students will actually be creating their stories and sharing them with us as blogs, as open discussions where other students can come in and content and do peer review. Right now, I do that through another platform, but I'd really like to really max out my use of Sutori in this course. Now, Sutori also has my students where I can add my students to my class, okay? And I can actually add students in and put them, tag them into groups, and that's how I did my student group. So again, tons of opportunities for using Sutori in different ways, but again, it's brought me freedom from the enclosure of the LMS. And in the LMS, remember, when the student leaves the course, most of all of that stuff in the LMS dies. Instead, I want them to become lifelong learners that will see learning as something that continues even after the 14 weeks or 15 weeks that they have with me. And that really is ideal as well. So again, I use Sutori for 3 major ways: communication, content, and collaboration. And I couldn't be happier using it. Thank you for listening.